Hello there, welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the Thames Valley. The soaring cost of the weekly shop. NHS workers among thousands across our region routinely using food banks. We analyse the cost of a basket of shopping to see just how much it's gone up.
Veg and your eggs and normal stuff that you'd go and do for £20–30 on. Some people have got like 4 or 5 children and they can't afford to keep going out and doing that all the time.
Fans reunited. The Reading supporter who saved the life of a Luton fan at an away game on the importance of learning CPR.
And we take a stroll with the walking warrior, the former Royal Marine who's on an epic challenge around the UK supporting men's mental health.
Good evening. NHS staff and other key workers say they've been left with no choice but to rely on food banks because of the soaring cost of living. Figures today from the Consumer Price Index show food inflation is now at a 45-year high.
Our own analysis has found a basket of shopping ranging from meats to butter to frozen food can now cost as much as £3.60 more for the same items compared to 8 months ago. And it can be up to 14% more depending on where you shop.
Well, supermarkets say they're doing everything they can to provide great value for customers, but one consumer expert says they could be doing a lot more, and farmers say they are being pushed out. Joe Caution has this special report.
This charity pantry in Basingstoke provides food, toiletries and sanitary supplies to more than 50 schools across the UK, who in turn support more than 20 families each, a number they say is increasing due to the cost of living.
We were hearing stories of children not having toothbrushes, not having toothpaste, no access to toiletries, that sort of thing. So that's really how this concept of our school pantry cupboard started. When we visit the schools, we speak to the teachers, we see a real desperation in the teachers' voices because they have limited supplies which they know they have to distribute to so many children and families at their schools.
Around 250,000 emergency food parcels were handed out by the Trussell Trust across our region last year to people from all walks of life who are routinely using community food banks to make ends meet. From students to pensioners to people in full-time jobs like Michelle, who works for the NHS.
I mean, I work and still struggle. I'm not just going to go on about the NHS, but the NHS do a hard job. And if you want to have anything in life, you've got to sacrifice something else. Like, you shouldn't have to do that, really, when you're working around the clock. But that's the way it is.
If this wasn't here, I don't know, I think there'd be a lot of people struggling, man, like in the local area. Veg and your eggs and normal stuff that you'd go and do for £20–30 on. Some people have got like 4 or 5 children and they can't afford to keep going out and doing that all the time now, can they? Do you know what I mean? And then everything, all of the gas and electric and everything's going up, so there's no money about, there's no money spare.
Meanwhile, analysis by ITV News Meridian has found the cost of your food shop continues to increase, even among the own brand items. We purchased a basket of goods from 3 supermarkets in August, and we bought the same identical items again 8 months on. At Tesco, the total price of the 26 items in August was £30.64. This week, it was £33.13, the smallest rise, though, of 8%. At Asda, the same shop cost nearly £28.50 last summer, rising to over £31 this month, a 9% increase. Aldi remained the cheapest supermarket in our test, the initial basket costing £25.65, but it had the biggest increase of all 3, jumping 14% to over £29 this week. Supermarkets say they're doing everything they can to reduce cost pressures on households. And our research shows, to some extent, they are. During our second shop, we also purchased new, cheaper alternatives where possible, reducing the total cost on all 3 shops and even making the price of our basket slightly less than it was in August in Asda and Tesco. The cheapest price on a pack of ham was down to less than £1 in both of those shops. A loaf of bread could be picked up for 30p less than we paid in August. And a tin of peaches was more than half the price of the own brand product we bought last time. But one consumer expert says finding the cheapest alternatives isn't always easy.
Yeah, there are these cheap budget ranges at supermarkets which are fantastic if you can get access to them. So if you rely on a local corner shop, a convenience store, often only the more expensive items are in stock there. And then it's a complete lottery as to day, will you be able to get the cheapest options? And so we think that supermarkets need to do more. They should be making sure that the affordable, healthy food is in the shops where people are actually doing their shopping, the convenience stores, but also that it's a healthy food and not just, buy one get one free on crisps and pop.
A potential money saver for customers then, but at what cost? Here in Horsham, the Vice Chair of the National Farmers Union says short-term attempts by supermarkets to drive down prices is crippling local producers.
All the fertiliser I bought last summer is being used to grow crops this spring, and I'll be selling those the wheat that they will grow for the next 12 months. So our cost of production went up massively last year, and it's going to carry on through our food systems for some time to come. When everything's really focused on the short term, it's really hard for farmers to adjust and have confidence to invest and do the things they need to do to keep growing food. So naturally, many people, if they can't see a return long term, they won't bother producing. And you've seen them empty shelves. That's what that's all about. The risk has gone up, the rewards aren't there, people will walk away.
We absolutely work closely with our suppliers, and British agriculture is really important. There is sometimes a premium.
It's a delicate balancing act, one supermarket chief tells me, keeping costs down for customers without abandoning British farmers.
As long as you're clear with your customer base about where you do make different choices. It's about choices for customers to overcome a really quite challenging inflationary environment at this moment in time.
How can it be, though, a customer can pay £3 or so more one week to the next for the same items because the cheaper alternative isn't available?
We've been committed to keeping it out there in all of our formats of stores, whether it's the smallest supermarket that we do or the biggest supercentre, to open the range out to as many customers at all times. There is some availability challenges that we've seen within the respective market, but we're doing everything we can to fulfil that customer demand.
That job for supermarkets to keep up with demand is more important than ever. They say they want to maximise choices for customers with cheaper options. But many families say food inflation right now means those choices have become forced and far fewer. Joe Caution, ITV News.
Well, there is more analysis on our website, and we ought to stress that all the food we purchased for our investigation was given to food banks in the region. Well, let's now speak to food writer and campaigner Jack Munro to get more on this. Jack, you've been campaigning about food poverty for years. We know things are incredibly tough. Have you ever known things to be quite this bad?
No, things have been getting increasingly worse for people over the last 13 years. Since the advent of the Cameron-Osborne government and austerity ideology, we've seen living conditions declining steadily for the last 13 years, but I have never known it to be as bad as it is now. I mean, people are struggling and suffering up and down the country. It's not just families, it's single people, people with disabilities, people are in poverty, and I'm not sure how many more people have to struggle and have to suffer before the government does something about it.
We've heard that there are a growing number of budget supermarket items becoming available. We heard that in Joe's report. Is that enough? Is that helping? Is anything helping currently?
I mean, the range of budget products in supermarkets seems to sort of expand and contract on a whim. So sometimes they're available, sometimes they're not available, sometimes they're brought out for a short period of time, sometimes they're incorporated into main ranges. So they are notoriously unreliable. It's nice to see that supermarkets are sort of having a conversation around their budget products and looking to increase their budget lines, but I'm yet to see any consistency around that and reliability around it.
Is there any sort of hints and tips you could leave our viewers with this evening that might give them a little bit of help and support?
I mean, there does come a point when money-saving advice is a bit inadequate. I mean, I've spent the last 10 years telling people to, use dried beans and pulses and, maybe look at getting a second-hand slow cooker or using frozen vegetables instead of fresh vegetables, swapping meat out for beans and pulses in half of a recipe to keep the costs down. But there's no one quite as frugal as people who don't really have very much at all. And the majority of people out there, if not all of them, who are struggling to make ends meet at the moment, will be doing all of those things. They'll be putting the extra jumpers on, turning the heating off. They'll be doing everything they can in order to cut their cloth according to their means. But when the cloth is shrinking and absolutely inadequate to meet basic living standards, the onus no longer falls on the individuals who are struggling to try to make their meagre living allowances stretch to meet all their basic needs. The onus falls on the government to ensure that people have enough to live on.
Jack Munro, we have to leave it there, but thank you very much for talking to us on the programme. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
In other news, there'll be more strike action by ambulance staff in the Thames Valley next month. Crews at South Central and South East Coast ambulance services will walk out on the 2nd of May. The Unite Union says many of its members are unhappy with the pay deal which the government has offered them.
Well, meanwhile, security staff at Heathrow Airport are to go on strike next month. Members of Unite Union will walk out for 8 days in May, the first one starting on the 4th. Unite says it will cause inevitable disruption when people are travelling to the UK for the King's coronation. But Heathrow has said it will not let industrial action disrupt the flow of visitors to the country during such an important period.
Plans for a new viaduct along the HS2 route south of Wendover has been given the go-ahead. The structure will be 345 metres long and will take trains across the A413. The plan was approved by Buckinghamshire Council.
The University of Reading has been awarded nearly £100,000 to research whether a psychedelic drug could be used to treat chronic pain. The study, carried out over 2 years, will look at the possible benefits of psilocybin, the component found in magic mushrooms. Recently, there's been considerable interest in psychedelics as a possible treatment for depression. However, their use as pain relief has not yet been extensively researched. Now you're watching ITV News Meridian in the Thames Valley. Still to come. Just days away from the finish line, the former Royal Marine who spent years walking the UK coastline to heal old wounds.
And why the blooms of Oxfordshire's county flower, one of Britain's most exquisite, are being counted at Iffley Meadows.
Yes, that's coming up on the programme very shortly. Lots more, of course, from us today on our website. The details that you need on the screen there. The website address, itv.com/meridian as ever. You can call us if you have a story you think we ought to be covering. The number 0808 1010 095. That's 0808 1010 095. And of course, you can find us on social media. Just search for ITV News Meridian. You can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, and of course, we are also on Instagram. Now to a football match where a remarkable result was achieved off the pitch.
Yes, the quick actions of Reading supporter Pippa Rowles helped save the life of Luton fan David Norman. Pippa gave him CPR when he had a cardiac arrest last November.
Well, David has made a full recovery. Mark McQuillan is at the stadium for us this evening. And Mark, there's been quite a reunion there tonight.
It has been a special reunion, Matt, and you won't want to miss the pictures. We'll show you them in just a moment. As far as football's concerned, quick thinking and keeping calm under pressure can be very important attributes. They can be vital off the pitch as well, though, and Pippa knows that only too well after helping to save David's life just a few months ago. Just tell us, Pippa, the situation you were faced with.
Yeah, so there was a crash and I got to the car. It was very clear very quickly that Dave wasn't breathing. So I undid his seatbelt, dragged him out with another member of the public and started CPR just there on the road.
How were you feeling? Were you able to keep calm in that situation?
I was terrified, to be honest with you. I guess you never think that you're going to be in that situation, and when you do your training it's very artificial, but actually being there and doing it, it's autopilot, but it's still just absolutely terrifying.
Incredible what you did. David, how special was it to see Pippa again face to face today?
Well, this has to be the most special person in my life. I'm alive because of Pippa. She's the one who got my heart beating again. Without that happening, then, you know, who knows? I mean, I know even when I got to the hospital in the evening at Harefield, it was touch and go. So the reason I had any chance at all is that Pippa was there, knew the CPR and did it really effectively, despite never having done it for real. But her first go wasn't bad, I've got to say.
Tell us how you're doing now. Our viewers will be very keen to know.
Yeah, I've got some kind of brain damage which is normal. My brain functioning isn't 100%, but I hope it comes across it's pretty reasonable. I can talk hopefully articulately and clearly, and I feel 100%. Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, and again, you know, everyone in the NHS has been brilliant. I have support from people now from brain injury departments, etc. So the support I've had from all round has just been fantastic, and I'm doing right well.
We're really pleased to hear you're doing so well now. Tell us, CPR demonstrations are going on behind you. How important is that?
Huge. So CPR is one of the most important skills that anybody can have. I hope you never have to use it, but it's fab, and the club have been so great with arranging this. I spoke with David Parker, the safety officer, and asked him if this was possible. And here we are.
And here we are. It's fantastic. Yeah. Your legacy, Pepper. Thank you very much, David. Great to see you doing so well. And this CPR demonstration's happening outside the stadium now for fans who want to come along and know what to do if they're faced with a situation like the one Pippa had a few months ago.
Mark, thank you. An incredible story and an incredible message as well. Thank you very much indeed.
Well, as well as Reading against Luton tonight, there are just 3 or 4 matches to go for our sides in the Football League, and it looks like the fight to beat relegation will go down to the wire.
Yes, one of the sides involved is Oxford United, with their point against Portsmouth last night keeping them just above the drop zone. Andrew Pate has the latest on what's likely to be a very nervy end to the season.
Zero Accounting Software sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
Oxford United had gone 15 games without a win before this clash and left themselves with a mountain to climb when Portsmouth's Marlon Pack curled in a stunning free kick. The U's, though, were quickly back on terms with a delightful header by Sam Long, and it was Pompey who had to hold on, with Liam Manning's side just failing to grab that elusive win. Crawley are now 3 points above the League Two drop zone, ahead of Saturday's showdown at relegation rivals Hartlepool. Aramide Ote hitting the post as the Red Devils hunted back-to-back wins. In the end, they had goalkeeper Corey Adai to thank for a priceless point against a Colchester side looking for their 3rd win on the bounce. And joy at last for Swindon Town fans as the Robins grabbed their first win in 10 matches. Johnny Williams finishing a fabulous move in style to beat Mark Hughes' promotion-chasing Bradford side.
Now he's walked 9,000 kilometres and worn out 17 pairs of shoes. Paul Harris, or the Warrior Walker as he's now known, has been passing through Sussex today and is nearing the end of his epic adventure.
Well, the former Royal Marine from Dorset has spent the last year and a half walking around the coast of the UK, but as Charlotte Wilkins explains, his journey may not be over just quite yet.
You pull me out of the dark into another life.
Fueled by coffee, cake and a whole lot of love, Paul Harris is the Warrior Walker. The former Royal Marine is a very different person to the one who started the journey 19 months ago.
I was just in a world of darkness, and being a man and a Marine, I didn't talk about my feelings, so I kept everything inside.
On a number of occasions, Paul says he was so low that he wanted to end his life. But a friend told him to walk around the UK and write a book, and so he did.
I thought I'd get 10 days down the road, but I knew I had to try, you know, because the not trying is the part where later on in life I know I'll regret it. So I took a leap of faith on myself, courageously just jumped, I left, and now I'm 4 days away from finishing.
And it's the kindness of strangers which has kept him going.
The humans of the UK, rich, poor, I've slept in manor houses, stately homes, sofas, barns with cows. I set off a lone wolf and I'm coming home with a wolf pack, You know, thousands of people around the UK are now my friends, and happiest time of my life alongside the most painful physically, because it is tough.
With just days of his epic journey left to go, he's feeling every inch of the 9,000 kilometres he's covered. But he turns his pain into positivity, and it's infectious.
Just live in the moment, appreciate what you've got, test yourself, you know, have a passion, a purpose, and a why that hopefully is bigger than you, and you can do so many things.
So, will he put his feet up when he's finished? Of course not. He's going to do it all again, and he hopes to raise £1 million for the mental health charity Mind, and thank all the people who have changed his life along the way. Charlotte Wilkins, ITV News, Hove.
We all need a pep talk from Paul.
Just incredible.
You are. Paul is set to finish in Poole on Saturday, by the way. Good luck to him. We're now to a real conservation success story in the annual count of a rare but spectacular wildflower.
Yes, the snake's head fritillary is Oxfordshire's county flower, but only flourishes in a handful of sites. One of them is the Iffley Meadows Nature Reserve in Oxford, where every year volunteers count the plants by hand to see how well they're doing.
Now, this is the brilliant bit. When the first survey started back in 1983, there were just 500 plants. This year, there were more than 43,000.
It's a brilliant way to start the spring, really, because it just goes to show everything's teeming with wildlife, and it's great to actually be in it on a day like today.
If the fritillaries are doing well, the rest of the wildlife here will also be doing well.
93.
93.
Yeah. 52.
52.
174.
174. It's just a purple shimmering haze. The grass is still quite short, so all the fritillaries are sticking their heads up above the ground, and it's a fantastic sight. The flowers will be at their peak for maybe another week, so it's well worth coming down. Remember, they're wildflowers, so please don't pick any, but if you walk around the reserve, you'll see thousands.
Doing a brilliant job. Let's get a check on the weather forecast. Here's Philippa.
Feels like home, whatever the weather. Valent Boilers and Heat Pumps sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Hello there. Well, things are looking a little unsettled as we head our way into the weekend and into next week. For tomorrow, still a good deal of dry weather on the way, but thereafter rain or showers and feeling somewhat cooler at times too. Still out there at the moment, it remains pretty quiet, staying dry overnight, largely clear skies overhead. And with those clear skies, temperatures will take a bit of a dip, and inland we could be down as low as 3 or 4 Celsius by dawn. So a bit of a chilly start for some tomorrow, but a bright start, probably the best of the sunshine first thing. Later in the afternoon, we'll start to see a little bit more clouds starting to encroach into the very far east there. But temperature-wise, similar to today, highs of 14, 15 Celsius, always feeling just a little fresher in that northeasterly breeze. And we'll pick up on that cloud out towards the east as it works its way westwards through the course of tomorrow evening. And overnight into Friday, we start to see a fair few showers piling in. So that's the change to something a little more unsettled. And the unsettled theme really continues through the weekend and into the early part of next week, feeling a little cooler by day with it too. Bye-bye for now.
Valent sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Stay with us because next it's the ITV Evening News with Mary Nightingale.
Stacey has our late update this evening, but from us that is it. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you very soon.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.